Hi guys, after a bit of a hiatus, we're back and we're on to the next battle in the series for the Russian campaign. We've spent the time well, painted up more of the buildings, as you can see there, been painting up some of the armies, and otherwise just working on the AI system, so taking a bit of a break. This is the next stage of the Lithuanian campaign. The Germans have advanced up to the town of Gudeliai, and they're going to try and take it from the Russians as they drive north on Kaunas. So as you can see here, town's all laid out. Objective of the Germans, just as normal, encircle the town, get as many units as they can to the other side of the map, using the envelopment rules that you find in the Warlord book. Yeah, it's giving you a bit of a pan over the battlefield. It's good to actually sit down and spend some time painting up all the extra stuff I've got. There are still more armies to go, but we'll get there. Alrighty, so it'll take us into turn 1, and I'll see you soon. Preliminary bombardments rolled in, so squad there's taken 2 pins. That's an anti-tank rifle team. Second anti-tank rifle team's taken 1 pin. A large 12-man peasant squad in the roof has taken 2 pins and a casualty. Commissar's taken 2 pins on the bottom floor. Medium machine gun that's set up there has suffered 2 pins. Medium mortar is fine. And the squad on the end has taken 1 pin. So it's the preliminary bombardment on the Russian sector. So they're the defenders for the battle. So I'll see what happens next as the Germans arrive. Alrighty. So that's the end of turn 1. The Russian forces all along the flank, well not the flank, their side of the table, have more or less all rallied. The Germans have taken time in the first turn to push forward. You can see Panzer III has moved up. German infantry have moved up. That's a German AT gun, so not actually a mobile AT gun, just one that's pushed by hand. Air observers moved into the building. 8-rad armoured car has moved up, and German infantry is making a bit of an assault up the flank. The Russians have dropped smoke, and the truck has taken advantage of that to run behind it. So it's just sheltering there for the moment, so maybe it'll be able to make a bit of a push over that side or that side. So let's end of turn 1, so the Germans have been a bit aggressive, because they've got to be. And we'll see how many units can get off the map, basically, into the Russian deployment. Russians still have a lot of reserves that haven't come on yet. There's a KV-1, some veterans, and an armoured car. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. Be difficult for the Germans to break through, I think. We shall see. Alright, takes us into next turn, turn 2. Okay, so it's end of turn 2. As you can see, the Germans have moved up. They've taken advantage of the smoke to move the truck up into the Russian deployment. Truck has been blown up, but the pioneers have bailed out, and they've suffered 2 pins as a result of all the Russian units over there firing at them, which is actually not too bad, all things considered. So hopefully for the Germans next turn, if they pull their dice and pass their leadership test, then they might be able to get off the table and earn some points. So far the Russians are on 2 points for blowing up the truck, which was a bit unfortunate, but maybe if the Germans can get off the table, then they can get 3 points for that. So that's the right flank for the Germans. This takes us into the centre. Been a few shenanigans with the armoured car. It's moved into the centre. The KV-1 has turned up, taken a shot at it. It's used the recce rule to recce behind the trees. We're still within range, but the tank missed, fortunately. So it's still in the centre. AT gun has moved up behind it, so we're trying to get in position to take a shot. Air observer in the barn has dropped an airstrike on the KV. Russian units in the centre, just sort of still pinned mostly. The Russian squad in that house has gone into ambush, the White House. German tank and infantry have pushed up on the flank, so they're just sort of looking to see if they can nab some points. And that's more or less the turn. Let's quick pan over the battlefield. And yes, it'll take us into turn 3. There's going to be an airstrike that will resolve, and also some Russian scouts will be appearing on the left flank. And they have AT grenades, so we'll have to see if they can attack the tank. Alright, that takes us to turn 3. Okay, so that's the end of turn 3. So the Germans have pulled back a little bit, treated that squad into the barn. Still have the squad out in the open there, and the officer. So they're sitting there. Have air observer. Anti-tank guns move back. That squad's had an ambush because of the Russian outflanking moves. So I wasn't sure where the Russian troops would appear, so I just kept those in ambush so they could protect the back of the tank. The tank is pushed up. So it's basically the German side. The airstrike came in and actually blew up the German armoured car. So that's been taken off the field. So at the moment the Russians are winning 4 points to 3. Yes, it's the German side. Russian troops have pushed up. So anti-tank rifles and Commissar leading the charge into the centre of the map, backed up by the armoured car. Other Russian units repositioning around the flank, sort of trying to head towards that far flank. KV-1 has moved up, taken some shots at the Germans in the open there, which were firing at the MG squad that's also in the open. So yeah, the 2 casualties suffered there, the unit's got a pin. Let's see, that's more or less it. The only other thing I'll mention is that the Russian scouts have moved into the open from their flank, so they didn't turn up behind the tank, but they've actually blocked its path. So we'll see if they can hold the tank up. If I don't get the first dice, then the Russians will get to charge the tank. So that could be unpleasant for me if that happens. But we shall see. Just a quick pan over the battlefield. I hope you guys like the painted houses. Alright, and that takes us into turn 4. Just one last thing I've mentioned, the German pioneers have managed to escape off the map. So it's another 3 points for the Germans. So hopefully that'll be enough to put some points in the bag, maybe win me this match if I'm lucky in the turns ahead. Okay, so it's into turn 4. Russians are pushed up. Germans have retreated to the house. Also retreated back to the baseline. Not really retreated, they failed their order test. And then as part of the reaction, they rolled so they could move 12 away from the enemy, so they're right on the back line. Air observer's still in the house. Anti-tank gun still sort of sitting there. It's moved back a little bit. Russians pushing up, trying to kill off any Germans they can find. Tanks in the middle, sort of shimmied around a little bit. Hasn't done too much this turn. And you have all the units in the centre there. They're sort of moving to react to the tank. Nothing has happened to the tank. Lots of dice were rolled. The Russians had 11 sort of pen points on the tank. But unfortunately they rolled a 1 to wound it, so it's just stunned. Well, that's still a problem for the tank because it's stuck on 2 pins now. They didn't have it before. And the Germans have pushed up into the woods. So it's the end of turn 4. I think, yeah, difficult to call at the moment, but we'll see how we go in turn 5. Alright. Okay, so it's the end of turn 5. All the Russians have pushed up. Germans have retreated, again, back to the house. This unit's failed its order test, so it's stuck in the open. It's been a bit fortunate with all the things being shot at it, that it's not suffered as many casualties. So yeah, so that's down. Air observer's still in the hut. Sort of looking, tried firing a shot at the big horde of Russians advancing up the centre. AT gunners fired at the Russians in the centre, put a pin on the machine gun unit. The Germans in the house have fired at the veterans, putting another pin on them. KV has pushed up the center and sort of looking to see if it can kill off either the Germans on the far side or maybe the AT gun. And the Russians are scrambling across there, block off any advance from those, although it's sort of too late in the game to for them to go anywhere. They're just sort of hiding and preventing the Russians from getting any points. So far... Oh, and also the German tank has managed to escape. So, very fortunately, the Russians didn't do as much damage on the second attack. German tank passed its morale check and has driven through them. So at the moment the Germans are winning. But that can change depending on what happens with this squad that's out in the open, if that gets shot up. So we shall see. Alright, takes us into the last turn of the game. Cheers. Okay, so it's the end of turn 6, and because we also rolled for an extra turn, it's the end of turn 7 as well. So the Russians have won. Basically the squad in the open's been wiped out in turn 6. Some gunfire from the house on the advancing Russians, but not enough to kill any units. Russian tank has moved out, has charged the house to try and kill off the AT gun, which was hiding behind it. So the AT gun retreated from there after getting a lot of shots fired at it from all the Russians. It suffered some casualties, retreated behind the barn. KV rammed the barn but got immobilized. Scout car moved up and killed the AT gun. And that kind of sealed it for the Russians. They won at that point because they were 2 points ahead of the Germans. Quick pan over the battlefield. This side has basically stayed the same. No one's moved because they don't want to get shot at. And yeah, so the Russians have successfully defended the town, which means they'll be able to counterattack in the next game. So the Germans will be on the defensive. Alright, hope you enjoyed watching it, guys, and we will be back to screening regularly again on the channel. Took a bit of a 3-week break just to paint up the buildings. Yeah, just make things look nice. I've also been painting up the British and the Americans and yeah, but we will be trying to have videos up each weekend now. I'm also on leave at work, so I'll be doing a lot more commentaries over the next few days too, against the AI and also against any human players I can scrounge. Alright, no worries. Have a great day.